Transgender female athletes will be allowed to continue competing in Maine. That's according to the Maine Principals Association. And a law professor in New England says Maine has several ways to challenge President Trump's executive order if schools with those athletes lose funding. The MPA says it will continue to follow the state's law when it comes to gender identity. Maine has a Human Rights Act, and a law professor at UNH says there are several ways the president's order, titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports, can be challenged in court.
First prong might be this executive order doesn't have the force of law, or it doesn't have the force of law in this state. The second prong might be that it runs afoul of Title IX, insofar as the argument would be that Title IX, requires schools to allow transgender girls to participate in girls' sports.
He says it could also be argued the order violates the 14th Amendment. Two trans student athletes in New Hampshire are suing the Trump administration over his order. The same students won their lawsuit against New Hampshire over the summer for the state's trans ban.
The woman who exposed all of this, Maine State Rep Laurel Libby. Madam Representative, the Maine Department of Education is defying President Trump's executive order to keep men or boys out of girls' or women's sports. So what needs to happen now to protect girls' sports in Maine?
Yeah, absolutely. Just shortly after President Trump issued his executive order, the Maine Principals Association came out and said that they were going to continue to allow boys to compete in girls' sports here in Maine. I can't imagine that anything is going to change either the MPA's minds or Democrat legislators on this policy, except for President Trump's administration taking action and defunding Maine schools until they comply.
So it looks like Maine is insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain. What's going on, America? Welcome to Kevin's Corner, where I try to make some sense out of nonsense. Before we get into this video, I need y'all to do me a favor. Hit that like button, share my videos. Please make sure you subscribe. Make sure your notification buttons are turned on to all. Subscribe to my alternative channel, just in case YouTube give me the slip or something. You'll know how to find me. Don't forget to check me out with all the podcasts and follow me on Rumble in the Jungle. All the links are listed below. If you want to donate to my channel, feel free. Those links are below as well. Now, with no further ado,
welcome to my party, we're just getting started.
What's going on, America? Kev from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make sense out of nonsense. And you hear this nonsense right here? It's hard to make sense out of it. So it appears that Maine got a problem with the executive order from President Trump concerning boys and girls sports. So therefore, it looks like we about to have ourselves a standoff. Oh yeah. But before we get into it, I want to recognize the sponsor of this video, Noble Gold. How fast can stock market sentiment change? Well, in an instant. Just ask NVIDIA investors. Nearly $600 billion in market value wiped out overnight. No warning, no second chance. Noble Gold Investments is alerting all clients. Diversify now. You know why? Because market crash don't wait. They strike fast, devastating the unprepared. But smart investors, they're already one step ahead, protected and prepared. For nearly a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments have helped thousands protect their wealth with gold IRAs and physical gold. With over $2 billion in precious metal sales, Noble Gold is the trusted choice for Americans serious about financial security. Gold, it's real, it's yours, and it retains value. And now when you open a qualified account, you'll receive 2 5-ounce silver American, the beautiful coins, for free. Are you diversified? If not, when will you act? When your portfolio is down 10, 20, 30%? Or will you protect your portfolio now? The next market crash won't send a warning. And even though there's always a risk when it comes down to investments and there's no guarantee, I'd rather take my chance with Noble Gold any day. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com today. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Don't just grow your wealth, guard your wealth. So now, let's get into it, y'all, because a couple of these Democrat cities and states, I guess they're still trying to beat the resistance for nothing. The resistance for nothing. Resisting things that are extremely popular amongst the people. What are you getting out of this? So apparently, in Maine, the governor is a true believer in the transgender issue when it comes down to boys playing against girls. And the reason I call her a true believer is because most of these politicians, the Democrat politicians, they support this for political reasons. When they jumped on board with the whole transgender ideology, they were putting all of their chips on it. They were thinking that this would catch on and become a popular thing. Not that they really believed this stuff and they were passionate about it, but it was a political calculation so that they could pick up another victimized group and then they could demonize anybody who disagrees with this victimized group of theirs. But it backfired in the last election, and people are out there saying we don't want little boys playing in little girls' sports. But reason she is a believer is because there's no reason to support this now. I mean, Democrats are kind of sliding back from this because they know it's unpopular and it might cost them an election. Only a true believer would go to war over something that cannot benefit her politically. It can only hurt her. And Donald Trump is about to go ahead and make that very clear. So let's get into it.
A Maine lawmaker is facing some praise and criticism, too, for posting a photo that she says shows a transgender student on the podium for a girls' sport. And Steph, that lawmaker just posted again about this today.
Yeah, Marissa, she did, and she's doubling down despite calls to take down the post in the first place. Republican Representative Laurel Libby of Auburn posted on Facebook this week a photo of a student, unblurred, who she named. She also called the student athlete, quote, unremarkable in boys' sports. Now, we have blurred the student's face to protect the student's identity. Libby says the student placed 5th in a boys' pole vault 2 years ago, but placed 1st in a girls' championship event this week.
And yet nobody is able to really give a good explanation of why that is. So 2 years ago, you placed, I forget what they said, maybe 5th or something like that. But now all of a sudden, you decide to go against the girls and you place number 1. Now, this is a recurring theme. It appears that there is evidence to show that boys have an advantage regardless of them claiming they're going through this transition and so on and so forth. And people don't like it. So now all of a sudden you go from 5th to 1st and nobody sees something like that to be strange. And Democrats are supporting this. What are you doing? I mean, if I'm the father of the girls, I'm sitting here looking at this young man on the podium taking 1st place, and I'm furious, absolutely furious. But I guess they don't see nothing wrong with that. Even though Trump signed the executive order to go ahead and make sure this type of nonsense don't happen, Maine is insane in the membrane. They're like, I don't care what he said. You heard the dude in the beginning of the video talking about, yeah, there might not be anything to enforce the executive order. In other words, we're going to be a rogue city. We're going to be a rogue state. And if an executive order comes down, what you going to do? I mean, are you going to enforce it? Because, see, we're telling our officers and stuff in Maine to leave us alone. Don't mess with us. See, you got to have some type of teeth. You can't just be barking. You got to have some teeth. And they're pretty much saying, well, unless y'all come in here and stop us, then we're going to continue to do this type of nonsense.
Libby's post has received thousands of shares and tens of thousands of comments, some calling the situation unfair to girls, others calling out Libby for naming the student and sharing the face. Libby appeared on Fox News this week to talk about the situation in her post. She pointed to a New York Times Ipsos poll that showed 79% of Americans don't think people born as male should play in female sports.
So we have roughly, 30% of our country that is delusional. That's what that is saying right there. Or crazy, or for whatever reason thinking that this is a good idea. They're not able to stop for 1 second and say, wait, let's look at the reverse of this, okay? Why isn't it when little girls think they're boys and they so-called transition, or even grown women decide, I'm a man. I'm gonna go ahead and transition, get on some testosterone. Why isn't it that they get into men's sports? Oh, because there is a drastic difference between the two sexes. That's what it is. So you only see boys or men transitioning and getting into women's sports. Nobody is going to step back and say, well, why isn't it the opposite? Why isn't it the opposite? So the argument that, okay, yeah, you know what, we pump people up with drugs and all of that stuff and it should lower their testosterone, and then all of a sudden they become extremely weak and then they can go ahead and compete against the girls and stuff like that. But why is it that they always dominate the girls? See, so these people can't explain that because it's unexplainable. So instead, they just go ahead and support this nonsense, and Trump is about to do something about it that is brilliant. Love it. Only a true hardcore leader like Trump would address this at its core with the governor this allowing this nonsense to take place face to face. And boy, he gives her a verbal lashing. And I love it. I'm here to enjoy it. Let's check it out together. Trump says there are two sexes. Expert scientist says it's not binary.
But I'm delighted to welcome America's governors to the White House. You're amazing people. Even the Democrats are amazing people, some of you.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
2 weeks ago, I signed an executive order banning men from playing in women's sports. Many Democrats are fighting me on that. I hope you continue because you'll never win another race.
I love it. See, they don't understand. They are all about self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction. You mean to tell me that they're not able to stick their finger up and see which direction the wind is blowing in? I mean, usually politicians are good at that. You know, they are, what do the people want? I'm going to go ahead and say whatever I got to say to win this election. If the people say they want this, then I'll say, yeah, I want it too. But for some reason in this application, the people are saying we don't want it. And you got some Democrats that are saying, I don't care what the people say. See, I'm going to say that we do want it. It should be. I'm going to resist Trump regardless of how unpopular this issue is. OK, I'm going to resist Trump. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go ahead and fight for this for nothing. You're fighting for this for nothing. You're going to die on the hill. But I'm OK with that. OK, just like Trump said, continue embracing these types of nonsense until it reaches up to here to the people to where they say, get out of the office. We don't want to deal with your craziness. OK, but they want to continue to push this mess. These true believers. Continue. Go ahead. So Trump is about to do something that I bet you they didn't expect him to do. He's going to call people out by name.
And it's just crazy. If you look at what happened with the boxing, if you look at what happened with the weightlifting numbers, where a record that hadn't been broken for 19 years got shattered.
I am who I am. I'm not here to change the world. I just want to, be me and just, do what I do. I am not here to change the world. I just want to try to act humble about it. And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, you hear all that bass in his voice. All that bass in his voice. He's talking about, I'm just here to be me and this and that. But if being you affects women, then what are you doing? Okay. How about you be you, the real you, and get your butt over there with the men and see how you can compete. But instead, this person with all that testosterone jumps into the women's category. And guess what? Shatters the record by like 100 pounds. It'll never be broken.
But, they put up an eighth of an ounce here, an eighth of an ounce there, and it's 218 pounds or whatever, a lot. And hadn't been broken in 19 years. And then guy walks up who transitioned. He transitioned. And he knocked out that record by about 100 pounds. That will be a record not going to be broken again in a long. So we put a ban on it. And to protect women. I mean, the women, if you watch the Olympics, you had two transitioned people that were fighting in the women's boxing. They have women's boxing category. And if you saw that, it was brutal. What happened to the Italian woman was a really good boxer. After one punch, she said, no more. I've never been hit. It was a left. It was not even it was just a left jab. She got hit so hard, she said, I can't do it. They forced her to go out. No, go out again. You'll do it. Goes out again, gets hit again. No, that's it. She didn't want to die.
Now you see that picture of that person. How can you feel good about that? I mean, you see the real woman over here crying because she knows she just got straight up cheated in a boxing match. And this guy hits her with a hard left. She says, I'm done. No mas. And the way he responds is to celebrate like he did something. I mean, you get no glory after beating up a woman. And somehow you got crazy politicians that are okay with this. Any other application, a man jumps in there and start punching a woman. That's domestic abuse. I can't believe that man in there beat up that woman. But all of a sudden now that man claims I'm a woman and they're okay with this. Okay. So the governor of Maine, who's insane in the membrane, I guess she's okay with that person now all of a sudden taking first place in the poll vote. What about the girls? I thought Democrats were, pro-woman and all of that stuff. And they're letting men take advantage of women because these folks are too dumb and too woke to say that's not fair. So Trump now got to embarrass somebody.
And it's crazy, but the NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, I'm here. Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good. I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
Oh, now that's how you do it. That's how you do it. He made it his mission to call her out. I'm sure when he was preparing his speech, he was like, who's going to be there? Oh, the governor of Maine. Great, great. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and insert the very moment in my speech where I stop and look for her. Now, you hear her trying to be tough. Yeah, I'm here. I'm going to comply with state and federal law. Well, no, you're not because we're the federal law. But you want to go rogue like all of these other woke governors and mayors in Democrat cities who want to defy federal law, even as it applies to immigration. I mean, but yet they'll talk about observing our norms and following our norms and the separation of powers and obeying the law and all this stuff. And then they go rogue with their wokeness. They think their wokeness gives them an excuse to defy federal law. And so now he calls her out directly and she tries to be a tough girl, y'all. Yeah, what? I'll see you in court. I'll see you in court. Okay. But then notice what he also said. He said, you know what? Good luck with your career afterwards because the people have spoken. Nobody wants to deal with this nonsense in regards to men being in women's sports, women's bathrooms and all of that, except crazy holdovers in the Democrat Party who is really woke. They're not pretend woke. You know, you got to be really woke to say, man, this is a battle I don't even need to be fighting, but I'm going to fight it because I believe in it. Others would be like, man, I don't want nothing else to do with this, man. Just like all these corporations that weren't really woke. They weren't really into DEI and all of that mess. They were doing it, you know, just for virtue signaling and all that stuff. But now that they don't have to, now that they know it's unpopular, they're like, man, I'm done with that, man. Yeah, see, I wasn't really into it. See, but apparently certain people are into it. Like Costco's, they're still hanging on for nothing. I'm going to let it go, man. It ain't benefiting you, okay? Just let it go. Look like another DEI TKO. In this case, it's a transgender TKO. But according to her, she wanted to go to war. Well, then war it is.
Just hours after that dust-up at the governor's meeting, the Department of Education announcing a new Title IX investigation into Maine over the boys and girls in sports issue. It could result in Maine losing $250 million in annual federal funding. Jessica, Maine's a poor state. Losing $250 million over something like this just seems dumb.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I took it that Governor Mills was also talking about the anti-discrimination laws that exist and that she'll have to abide by them. And we'll see. That was my expectation that then this would happen immediately and there would be funding on the table and it'll play out. But the problem with some of these executive orders as it pertains to gender is that gender is a lot more complicated than they would have you believe.
Oh, Jessica. Boy, I tell you, man. Jessica, it's not.
Like, the problem with some of these executive orders as it pertains to gender is that
gender is a lot more complicated than they would have you believe. Like,
no, not really.
And now a word from the great and powerful Mr. Rogers.
Yes, let's give Jessica a basic lesson that little kids know. Yeah, even little kids know this. Animals know this. We've all been knowing this from the dawn of time, but somehow, okay, in the last 10, 15 years, we become dumber. Humans become dumber. Now it's complicated. We don't understand it. So it's been very simplistic since forever. And then now all of a sudden, this grown woman who's on TV is talking about it's a little more complicated than that. I mean, you have to explain that to me. I'm thinking as soon as the baby comes out, you look at it and you say, okay, that one right there has an apple stem. That's a boy. The other one doesn't. That's a girl. Pretty simple. Congratulations. You're the brand new parent of a baby boy. Nobody should be looking and saying, I have no idea what that is. What is that thing right there? Jeez, oh man. I tell you what, let's let the kid figure it out. Once they get a certain age, they'll be able to tell you what they are. This is crazy But I'm okay because the Democrats are trying to support this mess, and it's going to lead to more losses. And I love it. I want this issue and others to lead to them going extinct. But for now, since Jessica right here thinks it's a little more complicated than it is, we're going to simplify it by allowing Mr. Rogers to break it down for her.
Boys are boys from the beginning. If you were born a boy, you stay a boy. Girls are girls right from the start. If you were born a girl, you stay a girl and grow up to be a lady. Only girls can be the mommies. Only boys can be the daddies. Yes, sir.
See, music to my ears. Yes, thank you for assisting me with that, Mr. Rogers. Somehow we now have to teach these things to adults that, for whatever reason, have lost their minds, okay? And make it simple. Simplistic. They would probably call this guy transphobe nowadays if he came out with this message. But boy, there are some things that are so nostalgic. You can bring them right up to this date and use them to make your point. Okay, you know why? Because certain things don't change. Boys are boys and girls are girls. And Maine is going to find out one way or another. So if they continue to be insane in the brain up in Maine, they're going to find out the hard way. And Trump is letting them know, I'm putting you on notice. I'm calling you out. I'm blasting you. I got to talk to you now like a child because for whatever reason, you think you're running a household and that ain't the way it's going to be. That's a strong leader. That's what I'm talking about. And I appreciated that from Trump too. I bet you she was sweating up under the collar trying to save face. But anyway, we're going to see because the game has begun. Oh, yeah. Now, if you have made it this far in this video, make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Don't forget, I got a Kevin's Corner store. Check that out. And if you want to support the channel through my Cash App or PayPal, you can do that as well. And when you subscribe to this channel, make sure you set your notifications to all because YouTube don't like sending out notifications because they don't like massages like this. All right. Now, God bless y'all. And don't forget, check me out every weeknight, 7 to roughly 9 or so during my live stream. Okay. God bless. God bless America. See you next time in Kevin's Corner. Take care.